Welcome. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy. You are an important part of the family, and we are delighted that you've joined us today. Today, we will have a sensitive subject matter, so viewer discretion is advised. We want you to be a part of this great show, this wonderful hour, and At Home with EWTN. And so we want you to give us a jingle at 205-271-2980 or 1-800-221-9460, or send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Well, hon, I know that in light of last week on Friday with the Supreme Court decision, I know that you had some words that you wanted to share and get off your heart and chest.
Yeah. Well, that's the Supreme Court decision that supposedly redefined marriage. Of course, that's huge. And it's so great to be a part of EWTN, number one, because when you come here, it seems like the world has lost its mind. But when you come here, it's safe, it's secure, it's sound. And so I think it's important that as that decision came down, especially for those of us that understand what marriage is and what marriage does, the union of a man and a woman, children born from that union, the connectedness of babies with marriage, that it's very painful to hear this decision, and it has tremendous ramifications to it. And we just need to simply process this, to feel the pain of it, the shock of it, the anger we might experience, and to share with others of like-minded nature so that we know the true reality. You can change definitions, you can change words, but you can't change reality. About human nature, about marriage being inscribed on the human body, men and women together, about it being connected to the family. So indeed, the reality as well is that the Supreme Court has changed the definition, and it's really an affront to the Constitution, because that's not in the Constitution, and it's an affront to God himself, who created us male and female in his image for this beautiful union and the bearing of children. But we need to live in the reality of the decision, and the reality, the ultimate reality, the ontological truth, which means the real essence of marriage and family. And we should not be intimidated by the Supreme Court or by anyone else. We need to speak the truth in love. And we are living in a missionary and evangelistic time, and it's a great time to be a Catholic. It's a great time to speak the truth in love. So don't be afraid. God has called us to be alive at this time. We need to be sharing as couples, with our children, with our grandchildren, and make no mistake about it, reality will prevail. Life, marriage, and the family will prevail. Well, we have a wonderful show today. We want you to be a part of it. You're a part of the family. 205-271-2980, 800-221-9460, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. We have an absolutely incredible human rights activist in Reggie Littlejohn. It's going to be an incredible time. It's going to impact your life. This message of human rights, what's happening in China to women and to girls there is absolutely horrendous with the one-child policy, all the ramifications of this. But again, life, marriage, and family will prevail. We'll be right back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and right now we are absolutely delighted to have beautiful Reggie Littlejohn with us, who is the founder and president of Women's Rights Without Frontiers. Now, you are from California, you are married, you have children, but how did you become connected with the plight of women in China and all that they're going through and the one-child policy?
Well, Thank you for having me on the show, and I never could have predicted that this was the turn that my life was going to take. So what happened basically is I'm an attorney, a graduate of Yale Law School. I was practicing complex commercial and intellectual property litigation in San Francisco, California, but then on a pro bono basis, I represented Chinese refugees in their cases for political asylum in the United States. This was in the mid-90s. And my first refugee was a woman who had been persecuted as a Christian, but she had also been forcibly sterilized. And what I mean by that is that this tiny, beautiful little woman was physically picked up, dragged out of her home, screaming and crying and begging, held down to a table. They cut her open and tied her fallopian tubes, all of this without anesthesia. And sure enough, she got a massive infection, which gave her chronic abdominal pain, chronic back pain, and chronic migraines from the time of the sterilization to the time that I met her in Oakland, California, and represented her in her asylum case. And I was just flabbergasted. I could not believe, as I sat there in my sunny office on a San Francisco morning, that as I was enjoying all the freedom in the United States, and of course we're coming up on Independence Day, surrounded by the American dream, and at the same time that women on the other side of the earth were being physically dragged out of their homes, strapped down to tables, and forcibly aborted, even up to the 9th month of pregnancy. So I had a hard time believing that this was even happening.
So this was really brought to you. I mean, these women were brought to you, just right in your lap. And your original response is probably like mine and so many other people out here. I mean, it just, the equilibrium goes off when you're hearing, what you're saying. So maybe even some people haven't heard of the one-child policy, or maybe we heard that terminology. But what does that mean? I guess it means China decided just to have one child, or maybe you can have another one under certain circumstances, situation. But you're talking about forcibly, arresting, taking hold of, tying down. I mean, it's just incredible.
That's right. Arresting is the important word here, is what you said, is that if you have a pregnancy that is not approved by the party, it is a crime, and the pregnant woman becomes a criminal. And they will literally hunt women down and drag them and forcibly abort them. So the words one-child policy sound kind of reasonable. And this is part of Chinese propaganda that really it's all voluntary, etc. No. The one-child policy means that you have to have permission to have a child. Now, many people are restricted to one child. There are certain exceptions, like in the countryside, if your first child is a girl, you can have a second child. Or if one member of a couple is an only child, they can have a second child. But whether you're allowed to have one child or two children is not the core of the policy. The core of the policy is that the government is telling people how many kids they can have, and they are enforcing that limit through forced abortion, forced sterilization, and infanticide.
Reggie, I think we have a clip that will help people to visualize what you're sharing about. So let's go to a snapshot of forced abortion in China.
When I say forced abortion, I mean women are literally dragged out of their homes or off the streets. They can be jailed in family planning jail cells, forced to abort children that they want. And this can happen all the way up to the 9th month of pregnancy. Some of these forced abortions are so violent that the women themselves die along with their full-term babies.
It's just amazing, what you're saying. And it's like, is this going on in the planet that I live? Like there you were in sunny California doing your life, and this literally got dumped in your lap. And then you had to respond. And so when you got involved, what did you start to do? Like, how did you get up from your chair to say, okay, now, Lord, what am I doing, right?
Well, you know what? It wasn't actually that direct. So there's a couple things that happened. Before I represented, actually, one of these happened during the time I was a lawyer, but I had had 2 miscarriages myself. And they were devastating. I was completely devastated by these miscarriages. And at the time, my mom said to me, we'll never know why God would put a baby inside of you that would be so loved and so well cared for, and then take that baby away. But if you will offer it up, I believe He'll use that pain for a purpose. And I believe that the pain that I experienced with my own miscarriages really, really sensitized me to when I found out about women being forcibly aborted. You know, I don't know whether if I had not had those miscarriages, I would have read about that and I would have said, wow, that's awful, and then gone on with my life. I could not do that because I know what it's like to lose a baby that I want. But even so, I was very happily a lawyer. I was wanting to make partner. I was on that, track. And then the thing that derailed me was I got really, really sick. And my family has a history of breast cancer. My mom had bilateral mastectomies. My younger sisters actually had bilateral mastectomies, and I had to have bilateral mastectomies, which under normal circumstances is only a couple months off of work. But in the surgery, I got an MRSA, the MRSA staph infection, which was not responding to antibiotics. And then all of a sudden, my husband and I didn't know whether I was going to live or whether I was going to die. And there were many, many complications. And long story short, I had to leave the practice of law on a medical leave of absence and was disabled for 5 years. So this was kind of my road to Damascus experience, because I was a very stubborn person, probably still am in some ways. But this is what God had to do to get my attention, was to completely knock me off my horse, make me unable to practice law. And so during that time, I felt called to pray for women, for people who were worse off than I was, and my heart immediately went to the women who were suffering under the one-child policy, who were being forcibly aborted at that moment. And once I started praying about them, then I started, wanting to gather more and more information about them. And then finally, I just decided to commit my life to them. And it was interesting. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to overly spiritualize, because you're describing this as, what led to your call, to do this. And what I keep hearing is, in my own spirit, is that you were really in a school of suffering yourself.
That's right, exactly.
That the Lord was giving you, just like you got your legal education. I mean, you were getting an education on the unborn, lost, suffering. I mean, there's a mystical education that you were getting that really prepared you to connect with these women, to connect with these babies. And it's a beautiful thing that the Holy Spirit was doing in your life. Just, it's amazing to see.
Yeah, I never thought that I would ever say this, but I believe that the miscarriages in some ways and the catastrophic illness were
Preparation.
We're preparation.
How he's doing, what he's doing directly, but I mean, what came out of that was you were being suited and fashioned to connect with the women and girls and babies, there in China, and to share this with the world.
Right, and then plus with the legal education.
Right.
So you put all that together, and then you put it in the service of the Lord to stop the suffering of the women.
So what do you do with this? For me, it's like I want to get up some place and I just want to scream to the whole world and say, don't you see what's going on? I mean.
Okay, this is what happened. It's such an interesting story. So I got on every single email list of anyone who was doing human rights in China when I was sick. And no one knew who I was. I was completely nobody. I was somebody who had been a lawyer who was now sick. That's who I was. All right.
You were Reggie Littlejohn.
Well, but no. So one organization sent out an email blast. I was one of however many tens of thousands of people who got this email blast. This was in 2008, and the email blast said, "We are holding a conference on Chinese human rights at the European Parliament in connection with the 2008 Olympics in Beijing." And I said, "Great." I emailed the president, something I never did before or since. I said, "Great list of experts, great list of issues for your conference. How come no one's talking about the one-child policy?" And he took the time to email me back. And he said, "Dear Ms. Littlejohn, don't you realize that the coercive enforcement of the one-child policy is a thing of the past and that it's now all voluntary?"
Wow.
And I said, "Oh, is that so?" And this is where my litigation training kicked in, and I just said, "Well, what about this and what about that?" and kept peppering him with documents. And finally, he said to me, Ms. Littlejohn, I surrender. I see that it is currently enforced with forced abortion. Would you be our expert and come and testify at the European Parliament at our expense about the one-child policy? I just about fell out of my chair because I did not remotely consider myself to be an expert on the one-child policy. Yeah, I went to the European Parliament. I was told as the first person to testify about the one-child policy ever.
And you were the expert.
And then I was the expert all over the world. That's how it happened.
See, that is just something that God would do. You know, that out of your suffering, like Jim said, it was the school of suffering and pain. And for your miscarriages, for your pregnancy loss, God redeemed that and brought something beautiful out of it, because he united and anointed your compassion, that you would care for another woman who is being forced to not be able to keep her child. It's how tragic that must be, is all the wantedness and what you wanted with your baby. And here this woman, she wants her baby too, but the government is saying you cannot have this child, and what they do to women.
Where have you gone? Where has the Lord taken you? I know just in our relationship for this show, you know, I called you the other day to talk about the show and asking you about the information. Did you get some of the stuff? He said, you know, I've been across the Atlantic about 3 times in the last couple of weeks or something.
4 times, yeah.
Where has the Lord taken you? Who are you speaking to? What groups? Who are the players? Where are you going? Who needs to hear this? Who needs to hear about the documentation? Where have you been?
Well, just right in May, I went between DC and Rome twice, so it was 4 times across the Atlantic. And in DC, I testified about the one-child policy of the United States Congress for the 7th time. In Rome, I was invited by the Pontifical Council of Justice and Peace to be a member of a conference of like the 100 top women leaders in the world to comment on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to create a document to offer to the Holy Father in engaging these issues at the United Nations. So, you know, I've spoken at the Vatican many times. I've spoken about 10 times now at the United Nations, 3 times at the European Parliament, British Parliament, Irish Parliament, White House, State Department.
The UN, don't they have some sort of committee, a division that's about population? And what are they about there? Are they concerned about population control, or where are they? How would you speak to them about what's going on there? Would they be, where do they stand on this policy in China?
Okay, so there's something called the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, UNCSW. It's separate from the population control folks. These are the women's rights folks. And every year they have an enormous conference where thousands or tens of thousands of women's rights activists from all over the world converge on New York for 2 weeks of hearing about a topic on women's rights. And they come up with something called agreed conclusions. So 2 years ago, the topic for that was violence against women and girls. And what I argued strenuously, and I spoke 4 times that year at the United Nations, is that China's one-child policy is the greatest violence against women and girls in the history of the world. Okay, because we're talking about, we've had about 57 million abortions in the United States since Roe v. Wade. China boasts that they have prevented 400 million births through the one-child policy. Most of that is forced abortion. So you add to that the issue of gendercide. According to one UN estimate, there are up to 200 million women missing in the world because of sex-selective abortion. And I argued that these 2 things are the greatest violence against women and girls in the world today. And in their agreed conclusions, the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women condemned forced abortion, forced sterilization, and all coercive family planning and population control. So I believe that we were heard.
But then, now we want you all to be a part of the show. So give us a jingle and you can speak with Reggie. Call 205-271-2980 or 1-800-221-9460, or you can send us an email, jimandjoy@EWTN.com. Now, Reggie, you know, how is the world responding? How is the world responding? Like you went before the UN, you're going to the Vatican. I mean, is everyone just saying, we did that committee on that and they put it back on the shelf?
I want to say something about that. I'm following up on your, how is the world responding? I mean, if the world is responding at all, then that's a great tribute to the work that you've done in documenting this and bring it to other people, because if they're responding at all, it's movement forward, because it almost seems it was a non-starter, a non-issue.
That's right.
So are you encouraged at least that it's spreading the conversation?
I absolutely am encouraged. We have two things that we do. One is the International Advocacy Campaign, and I have mentioned that the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women actually created a statement condemning forced abortion. The European Parliament also has condemned forced abortion based on the case of Feng Jianmei, who was forcibly aborted at 7 months, a couple in 2012, and we were the organization that broke that news to the West. And then in the Vatican document, if you go online, you can find that there are a number of times in that document that talk about condemning forced abortion, et cetera, and I was the one who was arguing for that at this Vatican Women's Conference. So yes, there is movement forward, just in terms of the visibility and of the universal condemnation of this practice.
How do you put pressure, can we put pressure on a communist nation and this sort of thinking and ideology and propaganda, and do they respond to anything like what we're trying to do internationally?
I believe that they do. Now, of course, they will officially deny it. But you know what? The Chinese Communist Party is not monolithic. It's not like everybody thinks the same. There are people, I have no doubt, within the Communist Party who actually completely agree with what I'm saying. But they're not in the majority right now, and the Chinese Communist Party has not let up the coercive enforcement of the one-child policy.
Well, we have a video ready, and it's a girl documentary. It's from India, and so it's viewer discretion advised. It's video, and so we're ready to go to the video.
It's a girl.
They just wet the cloth and they fold it like this and they put it on the face. So the child can't breathe. Immediately the child will die.
But what this is an entire system, a social machinery that says we don't want females.
But the real problem started after I became pregnant. They started asking me for a sex determination. They wanted to know if the children are girls or boys. They started torturing me to get an abortion done. What should I do to save my daughters?
कि उसके सिर हिला के देखा तो वो तो यहाँ पे गले पे पूरा निशान पड़ा हुआ है। निशान पड़ने के बाद तब हमें फिर रोना पीटना, हमारे तो होश ही उड़ गए थे लड़की को देख के, इसने मार कैसे दी।
如果按计划生育生的话，我就只能生2个。哎呀，反正他村子里都有专人搞这些工作的嘛。 就被他们知道我们在那里。
மனசுல அதை வச்சிருக்க கூடாது. பையனா இருந்தா வச்சுக்கலாம், பெண்ணா இருந்தா ஒழிச்சுக்கலாம். அப்படி இப்படி பிடிச்சா தேடி போச்சு. பிறந்த உடனே நானே பாசிப்படுவேன். மறுபடியும் பையனே இல்லை அப்படின்னு 5-6 8 குழந்தைங்களாட்டம் கொண்டு விட்டோம்.
So I guess we're beginning to see kind of the tentacles or connectors with the one-child policy for most of us that have even heard the terminology, so we're just kind of focused on that. But this gets into the whole area of gendercide, which is a part of your mission.
Well, that's right, Jim. I mean, gendercide is caused by a very brutal son preference. And it's not just in China and India, it's in other places in Asia, and there's actually places in Eastern Europe and even in Central and South America that have son preference. China has the highest gender ratio in the world. It's about 118 boys born for every 100 girls born, because if you can only have one child or at most 2 children, most couples will decide that their only child or one of their 2 children has to be a boy. Gendercide also happens in India, even though they don't have a coercive low birth limit because of the dowry system in India.
Right.
so that a couple knows that if they give birth to a girl, that when that girl gets married, they're going to lose a huge amount of money to the boy's family. And if they have a boy, they know that their family's going to get a whole bunch of money, you know, through the dowry system. And so the gender ratio in India is about 112 boys born for every 100 girls born.
Okay. So gendercide, the killing of female babies in utero or even after birth.
Right.
So this is not exclusive to the government doing it. Do you find the population doing it themselves, as we heard some in that video?
Right.
So,
in China, we have government-enforced forced abortion of unapproved pregnancies, and it doesn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl. If it's not approved, it will be forcibly aborted unless you have the money to pay the fine, and the vast majority of people do not have the money to pay the fine. Gendercide is culturally enforced. So we have a wonderful program inside of China called our Save a Girl campaign, where we are in one area of China and we have connections with the local clinics and we have a network. And when we find out about a woman who is pregnant with a girl and has scheduled herself for an abortion because she's a girl, or who has given birth to a girl and is being pressured to give up the girl, which means leave her out to die most times. We will actually go to her door and we will say, please do not abort, please do not abandon your baby because she's a girl, she's a precious daughter. And we will give you monthly support for a year to empower you to keep your daughter. And we have an overwhelming success rate and have saved over 160 baby girls so far through that program.
and I think you sent, I don't know if they'll put them up or not, but it was just amazing to see some of the faces of those beautiful children that have been rescued in this way, and it just kind of brings it all home when you look into their faces like that.
Yes, I mean, when I feel overwhelmed by the government forced abortion and the one-child policy, I have a thick binder of the baby girls that we've saved, and I just look through and I look at their faces and I just think to myself, every one of these precious girls is of infinite and eternal value, and we are making a difference. We are ending gendercide one baby girl at a time. But the people who are at most risk in China are the second daughters. So people say, oh, we'll just have a two-child policy, no problem, then that would, you know, but that is a problem because they do have a two-child policy in this countryside. If your first kid is a girl, you can have a second child. And the most vulnerable people in China are that second daughter because people see that second child as their last chance to have a boy, and the pressure is intense to abort or abandon that second daughter. So we save a lot of second daughters.
And that is so important. You know, we run a pregnancy medical center, and like you said, you need to refuel yourself when you look at the pictures and you say, you know, even you get weary in the battle, and it's like, Lord, what am I doing? Is it matter? And then, you know, you have to refuel yourself. We have pictures of ultrasounds in the room because for us as the counselors, we needed life around us, because I have clients who come in and say, you know, thanks, but no thanks, I really do want to have an abortion today. And it gets weary. You get weary, worn in the battle, and it's like, I need life. I need pictures of the babies that were born and the moms come back to you so that you can stay in the journey, because every day you have to get up and you got to do the same thing all over again. And you hear the stats and you hear the stories, which is so important. Well, we have a phone call. Reggie's husband, Robert. He has something to share. Well, Robert, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy.
A call from a husband. I'm interested in this.
Hi.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Reggie.
Hey.
Annie and I are here in California, and we're tuning or channel surfing. We happened to come to EWTN and see this wonderful show, and we saw you on it, so we thought we'd call in and say hello.
So
Hey,
sweet.
so this is Robert and our daughter Annie from China.
That's right.
Wonderful.
Hi, Annie. Love you, Annie.
Annie, say hello.
Hello,
Oh, and how old is Annie?
Annie, how old are you?
I am 12 now.
She's 12.
Well, Annie, it is so wonderful to hear your voice, and millions of people are hearing that beautiful voice, and we thank God for your life.
Let me tell you about Annie. Annie is Supergirl. Okay, so Annie's father is Zhang Lin. Zhang Lin is a famous dissident in China. He was trained as a nuclear physicist, gave all that up to advocate for democracy in China. They jailed him, tortured him. And so when they couldn't silence him from directly persecuting him, they actually kidnapped Annie out of her 4th grade elementary school, detained her overnight, wouldn't let her go to school, put the family under house arrest. When they got out of house arrest, they were fugitives, and then they were caught, and her father got word out to me saying, look, can Annie come to the United States? She can't lead a normal life in China. So through the many brave people in China and the United States, we were able to get her and her sister out. We're now raising them as our own daughters. And Annie, I'm going to say this, I'm going to totally embarrass you, Annie. Annie is a genius. She's like her father. She came to the United States about 1.5 years ago speaking no English whatsoever. She is now a straight A student, has just been accepted to the Canyon Heights Catholic School, which is an outstanding Catholic school in our area, and is playing the piano. She started 1.5 years ago. Her teacher's already saying that she needs to compete to play in Carnegie Hall. So Annie, you're a genius, and I'm saying it publicly.
Is Robert still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
So how is it living with such a boring woman?
Oh, it is wonderful. It is wonderful, and it's amazing to be married to Reggie Littlejohn. And one example of it is, you know, we've got Annie Zhang living with us now through her work. You know, having Annie in the house has been a huge blessing to all of us, to Reggie and me. And she may tell you the story about how she came here, but one day Reggie came to me and she said, hey, there's this girl, Annie Zhang, and she's 10, and you know her dad's getting arrested, and she's not going to have a place to live, and she might be in an orphanage. Pause. Do you think she could come stay with us?
Yes.
And you know, right away, you know, I just thought, you know, God put it on my heart to say, you know, that's a great idea. Let's have her come live with us. You know, once I heard somebody say, if you like children, why not have more of them?
Right.
And that thought has been in my heart for a while. And when Gina presented this idea, this crazy, wonderful idea to us, of course I said yes. And I'm telling you, there's no going back. It's just been a great blessing. Annie's wonderful, and we love her dearly.
So this goes to what a saint my husband is. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I even had to sit him down on the couch and say, honey, you know, there's this huge decision here.
What do you think about this?
What do you think about?
Pray about this?
Yeah, no, I called him on the phone and just told him Annie's situation, and he immediately said, yes, let's bring her here. So I am married to a saint.
Right. And it's so important to have the support of your spouse.
Oh, yes.
You know, when God calls us into arenas, you know, it is. You need the support of the other to say, I believe in you. I believe what God's doing in you. And yes, go for it. And if it means bringing other people into our house, I say yes to you. You know, and what a great blessing she must be. And, you know, you rescued one that could have been led to the slaughter. Right. You know, and the God smiles. I mean, yes, a lot has to happen for all that to happen, but somebody on the other side of the world had to say yes. And you were that woman to say yes, and that is so important. Thank you.
Reggie, just what are the other tentacles of the one-child policy? So you've got forced abortion, you've got gendercide, not that we want to hear all the bad news, but I didn't realize how many connectors there are. What else comes from this? Right,
so you've got the coercive low birth limit of the one-child policy that leads to the forced abortion, which leads to the gendercide, the sex-selective abortion of baby girls, which leads to a gender imbalance in China, which is that there's at least 37, probably 40 million more men than women living in China today.
Possibly 40 million more men than women.
Which then leads to human trafficking and sexual slavery. I mean, that's a very powerful driving force, this gender imbalance. And then that leads, I believe, to the fact that China has the highest female suicide rate of any country in the world. And there's about 590 women a day who kill themselves in China, and the number is going up. And now just recently, it has been shown that there's becoming like almost a rash of suicides among the elderly in China.
Why is that?
Because you get 4 grandparents going to 2 parents going to 1 child.
Right.
And when the family ages, you know, in China they don't have Social Security the way that they do here. You're expected to be taken care of by your family, but when your family is funneled down to 1 person, they can't support 4 grandparents, particularly if that 1 child is a girl. See, if she marries when she marries a young man, she goes over to his family, and together they support his family. So you lose. That's why there's so much gendercide. They feel the need to have this boy. So the elderly, they feel like that there isn't anyone to take care of them. They have no resources, and it's almost like, as horrible as it may seem, it almost seems like the thing to do that is the most heroic is just to end their own lives. And so we are seeing a rash of suicide among the elderly in China. It's totally heartbreaking. From the beginning of life to the end of life, this thing has totally devastated Chinese society.
And that's just what the spirit of death wants to do, bring in immeasurable hopelessness and immeasurable despair. Okay, we have an email. I've heard a lot about how baby girls are aborted in India because they're not as desirable as baby boys. I think the term is gendercide. If so, many baby girls are being aborted. Why isn't there a public outrage? Why aren't feminists more vocal about it? And this is from Grace.
Well, Grace, that is an excellent question, and you are absolutely right. When it comes to forced abortion, people, the organizations that say that they are pro-choice, why aren't they jumping up and down against forced abortion? When it comes to sex-selective abortion, the selective abortion of 200 million future women, why aren't the women's rights organizations jumping up and down? And they're not, okay? So that, to me, brings the question, is their agenda really choice? Is their agenda really women's rights? Because if it were, they would care about this, and they don't care about it. So really, is their agenda underlying perhaps just population control at any price?
Well, I think, I think it's just pro-death. It's evil. I mean, to not hear the voice and the outcry of an unborn or an innocent, and then we select how we're going to do this. But everybody's in bed with the darkness of the world, and it's wicked. Well, we have another email. I'm a big fan of your show, and I post your YouTube shows on my social media profiles. Jim and Joy, I know that you are both very busy as grandparents and TV hosts, and I wanted to know more about how you balance your time and can you still work at a pregnancy center? Some people think they're just too busy to help, and this is Angela from Florida. Angela, well, let's see. We balance by the grace of God. We say yes to the things we're supposed to say yes to. We're off when we can take off. And right now, God's given us the grace to keep our hands on the plow and hold on. And until he changes that, life is short. This is the stuff we're supposed to be doing. If Jesus came back today, this is the stuff I want to be guilty of when he shows up on the planet, right? I mean, this is it. I want to go down, advancing the culture of life. I want to go down loving my husband and trying to make a difference in this world. That's right.
And I think the thing that's very clear with us, as well as we have the privilege of doing life, marriage, and family work, is that Joy is absolutely clear that she's my first vocation, my family's my first vocation, that our intimacy, our prayer life, what we do here, if that isn't real, then the rest isn't real. And we try to do as much as we can, but I can walk away from a number of things. This is not my identity, being on this TV show. My identity is being a man of God, being married to her. She knows that. And there have been times in our life with your cancer, and you were very serious, and I was working for a pro-life organization, traveling all around the country, everything else, and I said, you know what, I have to be with my wife right now, and I have to be here. If that means I lose this position, then I lose this position. I think I can get back with it if Joy makes it through. They're very kind and gracious to me. So there are times. I think that's very important to know as a couple, that you are my first priority. Nothing will separate us. And it's with that solid realm of trust that we're able to do these other things.
I hope we answered Angela well. Okay, we have another email. For the children who are in danger of being aborted in China, is there any way to adopt them? And this is from Martin in St. Louis.
Well, Martin, I don't know. There might be. It's very difficult to do international adoptions. So I think it's very costly, and the best thing that you should do is go online and try to find an international adoption agency with China. Our model is not to take the kids from the families and then get them up for adoption. Our model is to empower the women and the families to keep their daughters. So that's what we do through our Save a Girl campaign, is these women keep their daughters and raise their own children. So it's not easy. It's not like we can take an endangered child and bring them to the United States. It's like we encourage the mother to raise her own child.
If people go to your website, what will they find, especially, you know, this show today, and hearing and seeing what we've heard and what we've seen? You present things positively. You have hope. Can people, just common people like ourselves, plug in? I mean, is there something we can really do? How do we get involved in making a difference in terms of exposing what's going on there with women and these babies, and also helping to support bringing these children forth?
Well, the number one thing that would be the most effective thing is to support our Save a Girl campaign. So you go on my website, womensrightswithoutfrontiers.org, womensrightswithoutfrontiers.org. I know it's a long name. And then the first thing on the right you're going to see is a big red button saying Save Babies in China. Click on that and you'll find out how you can join us to extend your compassion right from your living room to the door of a woman in China and help her save her baby. So that's number one. Number two, you can sign our petition. It's a petition against forced abortion. You can see the button for that. Number three, you can like us on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter, and then share things, okay? Because I don't have a publicist. I'm just this person. You know, this is beyond David and Goliath. The Chinese Communist Party has this propaganda department that is funded by this enormous country, and I'm just this little person that's trying to get the message out. And I'm very, very grateful to you for enabling me to get the message out here. But share the stuff that I say. Share this show. Go on the website here and share the show and help us get the word out.
Well, because it's so important, because it's like if we don't hear, there's nothing. We could just kind of like, one day we stand before the Lord, it's like, well, oh, gee, Lord, I didn't know that was going on. It's like, well, we have to know, because we have to do something, because we want to be guilty of trying to make a difference, you know, and certainly people can be praying for you.
Yes.
Because for you, as little Reggie Littlejohn as you are, going out there up against the Goliath, it's got to be insurmountable sometimes. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And all the voices of hell will say to you, just go back to California. You have no business doing what you're doing. But you need to be fueled, you need to be strengthened, and you need courage, because I'm sure sometimes it could be fear, you know, just gripping, right?
She's got a great husband, we know that.
Robert, and she's got her lovely children there praying for her and fueling her, and that's so wonderful.
Right, prayer is huge.
Yeah.
Please pray for me.
We thank God for your life, that God has raised you up for this time through your own suffering and pain. He's equipped you. And so we thank God for you and for this incredible ministry, and we believe that there'll be thousands that will rally to support. It's womensrightswithoutfrontiers.org. We're going to a break at this time, and when we come back, Father John Paul will be with us, and we'll hear from Joan in Rome. And I know that this word that Reggie's been sharing with us is really being seared in the hearts of many. So let it rise up within you and be a part of moving in justice and in mercy. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and now we have Father John Paul with us, and we are so happy to have you back in the house. But first, we're going to go to Joan, who is in Rome, who has something to tell us. Joan?
Hello from Rome, and greetings to all of you at home on this very hot day. And by the way, an early happy 4th of July. We do celebrate here in Rome. There are masses in several churches, and the U.S. embassies to Italy and the Holy See give receptions. It is a very special holiday, even abroad. Now, we are in July, so you must know that activity for the Holy Father is curtailed. He will not have Wednesday general audiences, and he will have the Sunday Angelus only when he's in town. And he does leave town Sunday the 5th of July, remaining outside of Italy for a week, returning on the 12th. He's going to visit 3 Latin American countries. Now, this week, the Vatican also made public the Pope's trip in September to Cuba and to the United States. He will be in Cuba from the 19th to the 22nd of September, fly to the United States that evening, and then on the 23rd, there will be a reception and a welcome at the White House for the Pope. Then on the 24th, there will be an address to a joint session of Congress, a very important speech to watch. He'll also meet a group of homeless people, as you would be expected, and then later that night, the 24th, he flies to New York. Now, on the 25th, the Holy Father will address the United Nations, and then he'll participate in an interreligious ceremony at the Ground Zero Memorial. Other events are planned for New York as well, a meeting with the families of immigrants. Now, the 26th, 7th, and 8th, the Pope will be in Philadelphia. Those 3 days are dedicated to the 8th World Meeting of Families. He's going to meet with bishops, he's going to have several masses, he's going to meet with young people, and he's also going to visit a penitentiary in Philadelphia. The last day, the 28th, the Holy Father will celebrate the concluding Mass for the World Day of Families. We'll all be tuned in for that. He will meet with the organizers and volunteers and then take off for Rome. So a busy time in September for the Holy Father. Back to you, Jim and Joy.
Joan, thank you for another wonderful full report vacation for the Pope. Mission and ministry, a gathering of families, world meeting of families, synod coming up.
Yeah, does he really get a vacation? He's always working, you know, Pope Francis.
Busy man.
Definitely.
I think that says something that, you know, he wants his name associated at least with a vacation.
Yeah.
That's spiritual.
Yeah, it is. It is. We need to relax. And speaking of that, next week I'll be going on a little family vacation, so I won't be here. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good.
You know, speaking about the Holy Father's upcoming trip to the United States, I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be there. I think you're going to be there too.
I don't know if we're going
no?
or not.
Sorry.
That's okay. We'll be watching.
We'll be here.
EWTN.
I'm looking forward, not to rub it in your face or anything. I am looking forward to going to that, to being part of that. And another thing that just came out shortly after Friday, which was really a tragic day, I think, in the history of our country in the United States, with that decision, quote unquote, redefining what marriage is. It's something that we need to pray, and it's something that we need to, I would dare say, every one of us to fast for the salvation of our own souls and the salvation of the souls of the world, for family, for married life. Something interesting that took place just a few days after that, from Rome, the Holy Father announced the upcoming canonization of the parents of Saint Therese of Lisieux. Now, I think it's the first time ever in church history that a married couple will be canonized together, as man and woman, together. That says a lot. It does. It says a lot with what's going on in our culture, especially in the upcoming synod on the family.
Right.
I think it says a lot that during that synod gathering with all the bishops there, that the Holy Father is going to canonize a man and a woman that were united in the sacrament of matrimony. It says a lot. That actions speak louder than words. So that's going to be
Putting
huge.
that
I'm
reality
looking
before
very
the
much.
people.
I'm looking forward to that.
Wonderful. You know, I think the Supreme Court decision, one of the things that it's done, I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, I was sharing with Joy on the way over, it's made me love her more, that decision, because you have to step back and you have to say, what's reality? I mean, these people are redefining reality, the Supreme Court, those 5 judges, redefining reality. Well, they might say, well, it's going to be reality for you because it's Supreme Court law, but it's not ultimate reality.
Sure.
And so I think this is a time to drive us back to, I mean, I'm experiencing the reality. You can't tell me this isn't reality,
No.
that marriage is two persons and not a man and a woman comprehensively, fully united. And every time I'm with Joy, you know, I'm just united more deeply, and I want to pass that on to my children, to my grandchildren, and this is a time to bear witness, credible witness with our lives. And fit this into the Fortnight for Freedom, which we've been doing for 2 weeks. It's going to conclude July 4th, and that was the call before the decision. Bear witness to religious liberty, and they had Bishop St. Fisher, Thomas More, John the Baptist, all of whom stood for marriage.
Stood for the truth.
Right.
Basically that all three of them, I'm glad you mentioned all three of them together, they did not compromise to the truth.
Nor negotiate.
No, we can't we can't be, you know, compromise. We need to, you know, stay steadfast in what we believe.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think the methodology was interesting too, with Thomas More, who was saying, I can't abide this, and he kind of resigned and just said, here's the truth, and kind of was stepping back. He was still pursued and persecuted and lost his life. And St. Fisher was more vocal and was there and put it out there. He lost his life. And I think the thing for us is, just because the Supreme Court has made this decision, you know, it isn't over, that they want compliance.
Right.
And you could say, well, let's not agitate, let's not say too much. I want to tell you, this world is coming after you.
Yes.
So you might as well know what you believe, live what you believe, share what you believe in great hope and faith and with love.
And with charity. You know, St. John Paul II too said in Evangelium Vitae, the Gospel of Life, he said, truth is not determined by a majority vote.
Right.
That's a powerful statement. Truth is not determined by a majority vote. Just look at the decision in 1973.
Right. And the suffering.
A law of the land.
Right.
Just because it's a law of the land doesn't mean that it's a good decision. We see the drastic, and I think the figure is almost 60 million children in this country alone have been slaughtered by abortion. It's
well, we have to keep, like you said, we have to be clear about what we're saying. We can't compromise what the truth is. The truth is the truth, whether we believe it or not. It's true. And we can't change the rules just because we want to change. We can't change the rules. It's unchangeable. You know, you can't say that that's what it is because that's what you want it to be. As
my very holy and saint mother says to my brother and I when we were growing up, it's not my law, it's God's law.
Right. Take it up with him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the truth. Not just divine positive law, not just his law, the law of Christ and the law of the church, but natural law.
Right. Right.
The law written in our bodies, stamped into our nature.
Yeah.
Beautiful natural law.
We need to know what we believe. What should we do? I mean, there's legal issues, all this stuff. The key is the church needs to get on, and people of goodwill need to get on with becoming one flesh, uniting together. The Word of God says, be fruitful, multiply, fill the world, and subdue it. That's what we need to be doing spiritually, fecundity, and physically, fecundity. That's what the other side doesn't want to hear. We want you to know we're going to be fruitful, multiply, we're going to fill this world, and we're going to subdue it. Father, would you lead us in a prayer?
Sure. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the gift of life, for the gift of supernatural life that you give us in salvation in Jesus. We ask that this supernatural life that you bestow within us through baptism and nourished by the sacraments, especially the sacrament of penance and the sacrament of the Eucharist, we ask that this grace be stirred up within us, that each one of us may be truly witnesses to the gospel of life, to all those that we come in contact with. And family, may the Lord bless you and keep you. And may he turn his face to you and be merciful to you. May he show you his kindness and give you his peace. And may the blessing of Almighty God, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit descend upon you and remain with you forever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for being with us today. You're always at home with Jim and Joy. You're a part of the EWTN family. Let's do the work of missionaries and proclaim life, marriage, and family. Be assured God will do his part. God bless you and all of your loved ones. Bye now.